I'll show you. Crappy Chinese product. Okay. Welcome back. It's been a minute since I got an episode out. I think a lot of the projects that have been derailing me from getting this brass resonator build done are kind of a little bit behind me now, so hopefully I can focus on this again. I was really excited about the progress we've been making, and I got derailed, but I think we're back on track now. Let's hop right into it. What are we going to do this episode? Let's get the back done and curved and shaped and right. Like, I'm tired of making excuses about why the back of my resonators isn't what I want. We're going to use a skateboard wheel this episode. I got a new tool from China, so we'll see how that goes. It came with its frustrations for sure, but it worked. Yeah, let's just hop right into it. The first thing we're going to do is this skateboard wheel, and I'll tell you what that's all about right now. Okay, I want to do some bead roller modifications because the hard edges on this bottom wheel just aren't cutting it. I don't want that sharp edge that goes all the way around the low point on the back of this thing. I want a nice smooth looking, almost a carved shape. Even though it's metal, I want it to look like it was carved. So this bottom wheel's got to go. I think we're going to put a skateboard wheel on here, and let's see if we can make that skateboard wheel work out really well. The idea is that this thing will push against that flat skateboard wheel and just smooth out that little divot that goes all the way around the back where I hammer formed it. That's a little bumpy still, and I'm hoping to not have to try to keep hammer forming so much. I'm hoping that just having that skateboard wheel on the bottom will make that hammer forming part nice and smooth in there, and I don't have to put so much work into hammering that flat. I don't know if it's going to work, but here we go. Let's see what we get. Okay, I've got the skateboard wheel on the bead roller now, and the idea here is that it's just a smooth surface without these hard edges. And if you remember, this thing has these really hard edges that cause lines in the top that I don't want. So I've got the skateboard wheel on here, it's smooth, and the hope is that I'll just run the channel through here and it'll just smooth it all out. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but it seems like a good plan. Somebody in the comments mentioned the skateboard wheel, and I really like that idea. So I sacrificed one of my, actually there was a broken truck off of one of my son's skateboards, so I took the wheel off of that. So here we go. Let's see if this thing smooths out this channel or not. No idea. At this point, I'm wondering, where has my life gone so wrong? This is getting pretty hard. But then I start bending over the edge, the tabs on the edge, and that's where I start to gain some real understanding with how to flatten this thing out and getting it to work. Just trying to hammer it flat was not working at all, but as soon as I started stretching the metal over the edge and bending that 90-degree corner, everything started to come together on the back. And I was pretty happy about the progress I was making at this point. Everything leading up to this point was just a struggle and a lot of work and not much progress. But it all led to just gaining some understanding, which is what I need, because I don't know how to do this sheet metal work yet. But you know what? I'm going to be pretty good at it here pretty soon. Right now though, yeah, still a struggle. Okay, bending over that edge was huge progress. The more I got that thing bent over and hammered down flat on a nice crisp edge, the flatter everything got. You saw it was just all tweaked and worked, you know, it was going all over the place. Bending over that edge really pulled everything together pretty nicely. What I want to do now is I want to start making that shape, that curvature shape, kind of the dome in there. And I'm going to do that by just taking this, you know, curved dolly and hammer and just see if I can hammer dolly this in there. I don't know, let's see if this goes well and we get some curvature in the back and we're happy with it. Maybe we just beat this to death and it'll never be usable. Okay, here's where I'm at so far, and honestly, it's not bad. I don't know what the camera can pick up here, but it isn't terrible. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how the sanding goes with it. Now, if I were starting from scratch and doing this all over again, I would do some things different. I think I put a lot of energy into that I didn't need to on things that didn't work, but I had to experiment. It's really flat. It sits flat all the way around the bottom. The shape is there, it looks like to me. It's just going to be interesting to see, is this anything that's going to be usable? Can I sand it into a shape that it's going to work? I don't know, let's see. I think we're going to attack this with some sandpaper right now and see what I get from there. It's about 383 degrees in the shade here today, so we'll see how much sanding I can get done before I give out. All right, I'm just starting with some 220 here, just by hand. I just want to see how kind of smooth this is and if it shows me the high and low spots and how bad it is. We'll see. I think it's going to have to go more aggressive and probably end up using an actual sander. But for now, I want to start with this. For sure have some low spots. This is just a really quick hand sand. I have hardly put any effort into it at all yet. And I've definitely got low spots and stuff, but overall I think the shape's pretty smooth. So I think I am going to switch to the electric sander with some 220. I like how 220 is working. It's not too aggressive. This actually might smooth out into being okay. I don't know. I have my hopes. Okay, that is not a perfect surface, but it's not a terrible one. Honestly, it's better than anything I've done so far as shaping a back. It's pretty darn good. What I'm really impressed with is how strong it is. It's super strong, so there's not going to be any oil canning, especially once the sides are all locked in. I'm also very impressed with the fact that it's just so flat, like it doesn't rock any, you know, everything came out really flat and nice. It's definitely not perfect though. I think I may work it a little bit more, I'm not sure. I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. For my first one that's curved like this and starting to get that shape down, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think it needs some refinement, obviously. That was a lot of work. I would definitely leave out some steps, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I definitely could have done this a lot faster, knowing what I know now. Okay, it's nighttime now, and it's cooled down to an almost chilly 98 degrees Celsius. So I can get back to work. Now, I'm going to let the top sit for a little while and be like that until I decide if I'm going to try and work it some more or what I'm going to do. It's pretty good, but it's not perfect, so don't know yet. I'm going to rest on that for a little bit. In the meantime, I want to get working on the sides because I'd like to be able to solder this thing together soon into a body and it'll start to look like something. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but I wasn't happy with the breakover angle of the strings over the saddle on the steel Resonator ones. And you know, this 12 fret version that I'm doing now, when I look at it in the CAD plan, it's really not much better on the breakover angle. It's about pretty much the same. So what I want to do is I'm going to taper the sides on this thing so that I can get a little bit more angle on that breakover. So I'm just going to mark out the taper on these sides and trim it. And you know, I know it's not going to be exact when you curve it around the cutaway and all that, but we'll sand it flat after we get them all bent and soldered together the back on. We'll get it all flat, kind of like you put the acoustic guitar on the big radius dish, you know, and you drive the bus and sand it for, you know, ever. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do something like that. It won't be that, but we'll do something like that to get the sides even all the way around, like they're gonna need to be in the end. But for now, I'm just gonna at least mark out the taper on the sides and trim these sides, and then let's see if we can get these sides bent and get ready to be soldered to the back. Okay, I've got the side bender out. This is the bender that I normally use to bend wood sides. Anyway, that's my bender. I don't need the heat to bend the metal, but I've found that the side bender works really well to bend these sides. I ordered this really cool little tool. It's a 3-in-1 sheet metal tool. It has a brake on it that'll bend up to 90 degrees. It has a shear on it that'll cut all 12-inch wide. And the coolest feature about it that I really wanted is it has a slip roll. You roll your material through the slip roll and it gives you the curve that you want. I would imagine it's pretty fiddly and hard to use to get the right radius, but I think in the end, if I get efficient at using that slip roll thing, I'll probably do the sides on that thing as opposed to doing them over the bender. Okay, let's start bending this side. I think I'm just gonna do the easy one first to get in the flow of things. The first thing I'm going to do is just sort of lay my template on here and roll it along, and I'll make some marks on this tape that kind of tells me, you know, where's the bend start, where's it end, where's it reverse and go the other way. You know, it gives me just a rough reference. Okay, I'm going to start with the tight bend here. So I can start on this middle line here and start to get it to fit into this area here. So let's just start with that center line of that curve and let's just start bending, and you'll see, I mean, we got to just go, you can feel when it wants to give a little bit, and you just got to be really careful that you don't overdo it and make waves in it. And it takes some time. You got to go back over it a few times to keep tightening up that radius until you get it where you want it. I'm going to work it all the way to where it reverses right now. So here's where it reverses, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to keep going this way. This brass is much easier to work than the steel. Okay, that's where it reverses going the other direction. Now, you can see how much curvature I got in that. It's not bad. It's not going to be enough, I don't think. Oh, it's actually not too bad. I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to start reversing the other way. So now it's a little trickier because when I reverse, you know, the tape's going to be down now. So I'm just going to mark on here where, on the other side, where that reverse is, so I kind of keep track of it easier. It's nice to have a visual reference. Okay, that's where it reverses and goes around the other direction. So now we can start making this curve. Almost did it wrong. I'm a lot more aggressive with the brass already than I was with the steel because the brass is not turning out wavy at all. In fact, it's way easier to work with. This is nice. So this curve goes almost all the way to the end. This is the curve that goes around the bottom of the guitar. It's a pretty big curve. If I'm honest, this is a lot easier than bending wood guitar sides because the heat and the water and everything else makes it much more difficult to manage. Oh, this is so smooth. I can't believe how smooth this brass bends compared to the steel. Like, man, I'm almost overconfident. I'm trying to not be, trying to not hurry with it because it's so much easier. So I've overbent it a little bit. Okay, you can see the progress I'm making there. So it's starting to match, coming all the way around there, which is nice. Now I just got to start working that top in. I think I'm going to turn off the camera for a while because you guys understand what's going on now. And I'm just going to try and finish this up and get this side matching perfectly. And then we'll be ready to solder if we are happy with the back. Okay, I'm calling that a success on bending the sides. Everything's looking great. They're all matching up really nicely. I haven't trimmed the end yet, so I have a clamp on there, you know, make those meet. I'm trying to decide if I want to put like a traditional acoustic guitar, like a wedge in there where the ends come together. you guys have probably figured out already that this is my first one that I'm doing 2-piece sides on. So on the mild steel ones, I just did 1-piece sides, and I had the joint up here at the neck thing, and I just bent that one long strip all the way around. And the reason this is a 2-piece side one is because brass is really expensive in dimensions that long. So I couldn't really get a long enough, I mean I could, but it would have been crazy expensive to get a strip long enough to do the sides. So what you're seeing here is a 2-piece side version, and you know, thought, well, let's give it a try. Maybe that's something that'll be okay on some of the others. Anyway, really happy with how well the sides are bent and how all of that is coming together. I think that's going to come out great. I'll tell you what, this brass is so easy to work with compared to the mild steel. Like, man, it's just a joy to bend these sides with the brass. It's just really, really nice. Okay, I think now, oh, I'm just waiting for my new little tool. It's supposed to be here today, but it has a shear on it, and it has a brake. And so I should be able to bend this on the brake to wrap around, and then I'll end up trimming this one off a little bit, and this one will wrap around to meet that one so that the seam is in the middle of the neck where the neck joins. So that's the plan for that. So that's why this is just long right now, because I still want to bend the 90 on it, but I want to use my new brake for that, as opposed to just hammer that over or something. I think it's going to come out a lot cleaner with the brake. Okay, I got my little sheet metal tool, and honestly, it's smaller than I would have thought. Like, here's my hand. So it's not a big thing. It's small, and it's probably exactly the right size for what I need to do. Actually, it's pretty cute, funny little thing. Now, my very first impression is, yeah, very cheaply made from China. It's missing paint in places where it's already flaked off. It was covered in a layer of goo like you wouldn't believe. Like, they did not want this thing to rust on the way over here. And it took me a while just to get it to look this good, and it still looks pretty bad. It was just covered in this yellow grease that was nasty. It just came in a bunch of parts, and I had to assemble it. There are no instructions about how to assemble it, so I had to just look at pictures of it and figure out where all the parts go. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not mechanically inclined, this little thing's going to stump you for a little while. It took me a minute to figure out how to make this thing do what it's supposed to do. Anyway, I mean, this thing was 278 bucks. It was really cheap. It does 3 cool little features. It doesn't do anything big, which is probably good for me. I already had to modify it. I put a piece of brass in here to hold the handle better. It used to just slide back and forth in there, and it was really hard to use. Anyway, I had to go through and figure out why it wasn't straight and do a bunch of adjusting. There is nothing in the instructions that tell you why it might not be straight or what adjustments it might need or how to even adjust it. Took me quite a while to figure out how you adjust the little roller things. How you adjust this roller like that, you know, to be closer and farther to get different radiuses. Well, what I figured out, it comes with these 2 knobs right here, but it doesn't tell you at all where they go. And you don't see them in the pictures anywhere on the packaging. So it took me a minute to figure out that those are what move. So if you put those things in there, if you watch right there, you can see that thing's moving as I turn this knob. That's what adjusts the radius of the bend. And then these little knobs are what adjust how thick of a piece of material you can put in there. So if I loosen these way up, you'll see I can put a lot of thick piece of material in there. Yeah, anyway, it's a thing. I think it's going to do everything I want it to do for me, because I don't need to do anything on a big scale. Everything that I'm going to do is only going to be 3 1/8 inch wide. So I'll be able to roll the side, the sound well. I'll be able to cut the side, and I'll be able to make 90s in the side. And that's all I need to do with it. Okay, let's use it. Okay, I'm going to start with trying to shear this thing right on that line that I made. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. I think if I line it up, here we go, shearing. Oh, maybe not. Oh, dang. There it goes. Oh, it's sheared. Oh, and it's sheared right on the line. Okay, so where the shear hits is accurate. That was hard. I'm assuming something's not adjusted right. I may need to get, so this table moves in and out, I've learned, with these little adjusters here, and that gives you the tolerance for the shear. Oh yeah, I'm a little crooked. I'm pretty good on this end, but I have a gap down here. I'm assuming I need 0 gap, and that will make it a better shear. So I think I can just loosen this bolt up, adjust this thing, and get that little gap perfect. Okay, let's draw another line on here, and we'll do the brake. I want to just bend a 90 in this. Okay, I think I've got it right on the line. Let's see if it bends. Oh, it does. Oh, it's not even that hard to bend. And you go all the way, and that should be a 90. Oh, and it's not bad. It's not a 90. It's not a 90, but it's not bad. This little thing's a mystery to figure out. It's taken me some time for sure. Okay, I've adjusted that thing down, and let's see if I get a 90 now or if I get over a 90. Oh, it definitely is bending it more than it was. I put it right back in the way it was. Oh, I'm almost 90 now, so I may have to lower it even just a little bit more, which means I may not have the, oh, I can tell already I'm not exactly level. Dang it, this little thing's funky. As you tighten these Allen nuts down, it wants to move the bar. So I guess I'm gonna have to stick something in between here to hold it while I tighten it down. This is not the highest quality product in town. I think it's still gonna work for what I need to do though. I don't know what that is or why it's there. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna fiddle with this for a while, and then we're gonna move to actually using it on the guitar. Okay, I've got my mark on here on where I want this thing to bend at my 45. It's gonna be hard to get it in here. I like this idea coming in from the back here. It's kind of nice. Okay, that should be it. That's where the 90 goes to go around the corner. Okay, I think I can't be nervous anymore and just say that's the right spot and bend it. Here it goes. How do we do? Oh, it's definitely in the right spot. Oh, it's good. Okay, everything's really good except that it's still not 90. I've tried and tried and tried to get this thing. Oh, you know what I think's happening? I think it's moving. Oh, it is. It's for sure moving. Oh, there's screws on the top that hold that thing in the spot. Oh, I just learned something. A little bit late, but it's always good to learn, even when you learn a little late. Okay, this thing's starting to get a little bit frustrating. Oh, great. I'll never find those parts. I just spent 20 minutes making that part. All right, it's covered in sawdust now, but that's okay. Okay, what's really frustrating with this thing is that I can't tighten this thing down enough to keep it from moving when you use it as a brake without it moving when you tighten it. Like, it literally just tightening it just drives it up. So I just had to make a custom washer, and now I'm hoping that this will go back together with the washer in there. Okay, let's see if that washer holds this thing in place now when I tighten it, or if, oh, it does. Ha! I'll show you. Crappy Chinese product. Okay. Now the goal is to get it tight enough that it doesn't move when I use it as a brake. Which that should do it there. So let's see if we can get this side tight enough. Okay. Here we go. All right, let's get a 90 out of this now. Well, that might have been a little more too much. What we got? Ooh, almost 90. Okay, let's do that again. Oh, that's got to be 90 now. Yes. Man, that took a long time just to try and make this thing work. Oh, and look at, I mean, you can't tell on the camera, but it moved again. Okay, the sides are all bent. Everything's holding shape just fine. You can see I just have tape on the ends to keep the two sides together, but it's holding shape perfectly well. But for now, I think we're gonna wrap this episode up because we got a lot done. Got the sides all done. Oh, these sides are tapered. You can't tell on the camera, but they are tapered. It's 3 1/8 inch back here, and it's 3/4 less up here. So if you're quick with the maths, you can tell me what that number is. Yeah, I think we're gonna start soldering this thing on the next episode, and I'm hoping that the next episode will come pretty quickly because I'm kind of done with some of the projects that were keeping me from getting this stuff out. All right, just a couple closing thoughts here. I know I mentioned that if I was to do this again, there'd be a few things I would do different. and steps I would leave out. I would be way quicker at the hammer forming now. I would just hammer form in this groove, and then I'd run it through the bead roller with that skateboard wheel. That actually smoothed out the hammer forming pretty well using that skateboard wheel on there. And then that was done. Then from there, I wouldn't even mess with trying to flatten out all the sides and all that. You got to go just straight to bending over the tabs, which will give you that. And then you can just curve this back. And honestly, I mean, I made it really hard with everything that I was trying to do because I just didn't know. So the next time I do this, it's going to be much easier. I really do think I want to buy an English wheel to try and make this inside shape with the English wheel, because the hammer forming of the shape where it's curved, you know, all these curves on there, the hammer forming of that was pretty tedious and pretty tough. So I think an English wheel would really make a big difference on that. So you might see one of those show up here pretty soon. Yeah, anyway, the back, I mean, it was quite the effort, but it came out pretty good. Like I said earlier, I am going to fix a couple little things on there and it'll be ready to go on this thing. All right, happy with that progress for this one. We'll see you pretty soon. Thanks for watching.